All right, all right, all right, all right. We are live. What's going on, everybody? My name is Pete, but you probably already knew that. But in case you didn't, you guys are watching Paid to Drive, one of the only channels on YouTube trying to put more money in your pocket. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a delivery driver for GrubHub, Uber Eats, Postmates, DoorDash, Caviar, Instacart, Amazon Flex, Dliv, Eat24, Seamless, or any of the others, you should absolutely positively be subscribed to my channel. Where's my notification squad at? Drop a 777 down below if you're a part of the notification squad. Comment 888 if you're not yet. And of course, be sure to drop a like as well. So enough shameless plugs for me. Let's talk about what we are discussing today. GrubHub versus the cherry pickers. I wanted to take this topic and put it in the hands of someone who is very passionate about this cherry picking method, who makes it make a lot of sense, to be honest with you, because a lot of people are under the impression that I'm against it. I'm not against it. I just felt that in some ways, if it gets excessive, it could maybe lead to deactivation or termination of contract, but that might not be necessarily the truth. And my special guest today is none other than the legend, gig coach Jake. Jake, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Gig coach Jake here. Thanks, Pete, for having me. I'm happy to be on this channel and help shed some light on this whole cherry picking issue. Now, there's a lot of debate, and it's such that there's no solidarity within us drivers because of an issue like this. We're pulling each other down, and we're actually helping GrubHub have an employer relationship. Now, what we should be doing is coming together on something like this and figuring a common ground where it makes sense for those that need to make a certain amount. Yes, this is all market dependent, right? Some markets you cannot cherry pick in, but there are a lot of markets where you can. If we found a common ground, a perfect example are, look at these tests that they're running lately. Taco Bell, right now they're running minimum $7, I think, on Taco Bell offers, trying to get those filled. Great news, the free delivery promo ended today, but that's not the end of that. Anyhow, that's another topic and another show. But the thing is, look at the other tests that were running in my market here in Phoenix and some other ones where they were paying out when there was no tip up to, I seen $12, $13. How do you think that happened, right? Do you think that happened because everybody's accepting Taco Bell offers? No, that happened because everybody's revolted. They said, screw this. We're not taking these low paying offers. I'm not driving across town when there's a Taco Bell a mile away, yada, 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 right? There's a lot of scenarios where it didn't make sense. As drivers, we're independent contractors and we have to run a profitable business. And yes, I said business. You're a business owner. So come tax time, some of you probably felt the pain of that if you didn't track things properly. Pete?
Well, look, I think you said a mouthful right there and then, okay? How do I put this? It makes sense as independent contractors to be able to pick and choose what kind of jobs you're taking. I mean, a lot of times I like to compare it to those people who are painters, or plumbers or whatever. Are they going to take a $200 job or a $1,000 job? You know what I mean? What makes more sense? What is the best way to use their time most, I guess, most professionally, something that makes the most sense. And that's all people are trying to do. These companies, like Jake was saying, are trying more and more. And I mean, GrubHub is notorious of this. You guys know I'm a big supporter of GrubHub. You guys know that. Okay. I don't think anyone needs any explanation on that. But I noticed that GrubHub, out of all of these different particular apps, they are the one that, like Jake was saying, they are trying to make us feel like employees, like they're just trying to find every little loophole possible. And I feel like this overall just kind of ruins the whole experience, especially because they know they have those big payouts and they know that they can show you those big payouts as well. But Jake, what's been going on now with these new updates? There's like 4 different offer screens now. Like, what's going on with that? What is your thoughts on that?
Man, it's crazy. Unfortunately, what they're doing is we're providing them all the data they need to realize which one they can use in each market. For example, here in Phoenix, our region is huge. It takes over an hour to get from one end to another. And if it's traffic, easily an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. Now, we've been getting offers all across the map. It doesn't matter what you are, Premier, anything. We've compared the data we have, here in the Phoenix market, but it just makes no sense. So we're notorious for cherry picking because it is not profitable. Nobody could sustain it here, a Premier status in Phoenix. driving all across town. You do not make enough money. You're spending so much in gas, time. I mean, look at the problem with GrubHub, really, if they focused more on their dispatch system, why can they not have a system like DoorDash, Uber Eats, and these other ones where it's fast, right? We get there and their offers, it's boom, it's ready, we go. There's enough technology, and GrubHub has more data than any one of these companies to be able to implement something like that. So it makes no sense to me why they're going after cherry pickers when if they just improved their dispatch system. For example, it takes me, I don't know, matter how hard I try, it's hard to get more than 2 deliveries per hour. So I need to make at least $20 minimum per hour for this to make sense for myself. That means $10 minimum on an offer. That's what I have to accept. There's no way around that. The beauty of this is everybody has different situations, right? Some are part-timers. Part-timers don't need to make as much. People have beater cars that don't have a $400 car payment like myself. They could take lower offers. There's a lot of scenarios that, I mean, in between. There's people that are in between where $8, $9 offers make sense. You might be in an area where you can get 3 offers an hour because you get stacked offers. You can then take lower offers. So there's a lot of variables. In my market, it's almost impossible to get more than 2 deliveries per hour. So my minimum has to be $10, and everyone wants to judge us on this. And I've done videos and I've shown the data and shown the screenshots of how far it is and how long it would take. And it just makes no sense whatsoever. It's not profitable for anybody, and it's for surely not sustainable. And the big thing is, there's an economic crisis predicted coming up here in 2019, 2020. They're usually not wrong about that stuff. It's historical. It's patterns, right? What goes up must come down. So look at what happened with the government shutdown. A lot of people went to gig work, right? What's going to happen when a lot of layoffs happen? They're going to go to gig work. And the less solidarity we have, the more these companies can drive the rates down, because we have a lot of desperate folk that will drive for whatever. We need to set the precedent now, so when that does happen, that they are at the mercy of us. We control everything. Without us drivers, there is no on-demand food delivery, period.
Let me jump in on that for a second, because I mean, everything you said makes sense. And like you said about the economic crisis, if you look on YouTube, just type in 2020 economic crisis. There are so many people uploading videos with conspiracy theories and stuff like that. But we don't need to go into that right now. But if that is the case, our markets are going to get super saturated, between GrubHub, DoorDash, and Uber Eats for sure, But another thing that's happening that I'm noticing is that GrubHub is also sending people, 20 minutes away to go pick up a $5 order. And then they're, getting upset if you're not accepting those. You know what I mean? It's just like, how do they expect people to spend all that time driving to a place for such a lousy, lowball offer, and put all that mileage and wear and tear in your car? It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't add up at the end of the day. I mean, again, at the end of the day, we are independent contractors. I say this a million times. You've said it a million times. We're not employees, right? So with that being the case, why should we be, forced, or you have scare tactics put on us, oh, you might get deactivated, if you don't take these orders? It's just like, you need to find a common ground. And if making $20 an hour is your goal, I don't see a problem with that. You know what I mean? I don't see a problem with it at all, So, I mean, what is your overall thoughts, Jake, on, GrubHub doing these like ridiculously far requests, that are nowhere near where the driver is? Like, how do you think that is happening,
Well, the reason that's happening is because the algorithm, right? So it's going to go to the closest person. They rejected. That's going to go to the next closest, and then on down the road. Now, some of it has to do with their dispatch system and the fact that they need time for the food to be prepared. I could tell you how many times that in my area I was sent to downtown Phoenix, which is about 15 minutes away on the freeway real quick. Not too big a deal. But then I'll be in downtown Phoenix and I'll get offers right back where I was just hanging out at home, and back and forth. I'll go back and forth all day long if I let them. Or they'll take me all over town. It makes no sense. I mean, in markets like mine, it might make sense for them to kind of break it up in some regions where you aren't getting sent so far. So I know some of you don't want to hear that. That might suck. You can't bounce around like you can on DoorDash, but that's why you have multiple platforms and you don't always want to rely on just one. Now, with that being said, I do want to say GrubHub is one of the best platforms. I cannot make more money on any other food delivery platform than I can GrubHub. I can make a higher, dollar per delivery average. I collect data. I mean, so I have to give them credit on that. I can, but That's just because I can effectively cherry pick better. Now, if they take away all that data, like they're showing in Virginia and I don't know where else it was, where you cannot see any dollar amount, you're guessing where the merchant is. So you're guessing on distance too. That's a lot. That's a big deal. And I knew that's something that Uber Eats does. Well, guess what? Uber Eats is not favored by many drivers because of that, right? That's going to crush GrubHub if they introduce that in some of these markets. So back to what I said about you being responsible for your own demise. Now, if you're out there accepting all these offers that say no information, you're like, oh, I need to chase my level, and you keep doing that, they then have the data that shows them we can implement this effectively and nobody's going to say or do anything, and we can go on with it and still make the same bottom line. So just know that your own actions, for those of you who are doing it, you're not affecting me at all. I'm teaching my people in my market very well how to get, I mean, we have a lot better solidarity here in Phoenix than some of these other markets, and that's why they're introducing these weekend promos where they're paying us a lot higher and they're getting us to chase these no tip offers. We're actually getting paid higher for no tip. We're always like, please don't tip us. And then if you get a tip in cash, you double dip, right? But that's because we revolted. We refused to accept the crap they send us. And there's a lot better solidarity here in Phoenix than some of the other markets.
Well, I'll tell you right now. I mean, let's put it this way. GrubHub, according to these new results that have been, put out, that DoorDash is number one, right? Supposedly Uber Eats surpassed them as far as I guess profits and general not audience retention, but customer retention, right? I mean, a lot of people are saying that, well, GrubHub is done for now. Now DoorDash is leading the show. Uber Eats has surpassed them. That GrubHub doesn't know what they're doing. And they're basically like nosediving now. I don't know. I don't know if I want to necessarily agree with that they're completely nosediving. Of course, drivers are going to get upset because we've been so used to being able to see those payouts, see the merchant name. And I don't really even see the problem with seeing the merchant name. I don't see what's wrong with that. You know what I mean? But I guess they really just want to avoid the cherry picking at all costs. You know what I mean? But I see their side, but also I see our side, and it's just there's a clash. And at the end of the day, they're going to win because they're the ones making the updates. They're the ones making the changes. Do you think, Jake, personally, that because of these changes that GrubHub is basically nosediving, or do you think that they're still going to sustain and do well?
So GrubHub absolutely is nosediving. I mean, it shows in the data. Look at the market, right? Their stock has dropped big time. What was it, like 8%? Over 8% recently. And in the last 6 months, a big deal. I mean, after they were at all-time high. And think about it. What have they done in the last 6 months? They've really revolted against cherry pickers, and they've made it a point. Pausing, doing all this. But on top of that, DoorDash is focused on increasing market share and getting more merchants and signing in more drivers. They had a completely different focus. Now, the GrubHub's not done. I mean, they climbed to the top. They're at the top as far as like the only profitable gig company out there. Not even Uber, Lyft, nobody. So with that being said, GrubHub's not going anywhere. They do need to make some changes to get back on top and take that lead because, again, they were the best before, and they still can be, and they still are in a lot of ways. But what you said about showing the offers. Now, my problem with the GrubHub is they're forcing an employee relationship. Now, if they want to classify as independent contractors, which means they don't have to pay a lot of money in, think about all the things that an employer has to pay in, right? Unemployment, yada, yada. I can go on the list of things that employer that they don't have to pay, right? We have to pay taxes as an employee and employer as a 1099. They don't have to pay any of that. So right. If they want to classify as independent contractors and avoid all that, then they need to give us all the information up front and always be transparent. That's our contract. When that offer comes in, you should always be screenshotting that. That is your only proof, because once you accept it, you have essentially signed that contract, right? Right. Yes, you can reassign, you can do some things, but if you reassign, GrubHub has hidden metrics where if you reassign, it's basically a cancellation rate. Ask how many drivers on Uber and Lyft and some other platforms, DoorDash, that have been deactivated for cancellation rate.
Okay. Now, Jake,
that is the most common reason drivers get deactivated in gig economy, period.
Right. So, Jake, that's where I have to stop you because that was something I did not know at all. Okay, because I'm not gonna lie, I've accepted my fair share of orders and then realized, in the note it was something that I didn't want to do or I didn't feel comfortable doing, or whatever it is. Or if I saw when the order was placed and what kind of items it was, then I would reassign the order. But I had no idea, and it's incredibly sneaky of Grubhub to do that, where if you reassign an order, it's essentially canceling the order. Because I've done plenty of Uber Eats deliveries where I've accepted and had to cancel, and they even give you the warning that says, please do not cancel too many orders, where Grubhub just hides that. I had no clue about that until you told me about that in the past 24 hours. And I'm like, hey, where is the transparency there, man? Like, come on. I mean, what are your thoughts about them, trying to, pull the wool over our eyes here with this reassigning cancellation, nonsense? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are this goes back to Uber created the playbook for gig economy and all these companies to take advantage of us and do these things. Now, those companies did it before and they got slaps on the wrist. They've had lawsuits, a lot of different things where now they are more transparent about stuff like that. They don't have to tell us that, right? That's not a metric they need to show us. You shouldn't be canceled. I mean, that's one that you should be responsible for. But you best believe that that's a metric in there. And I would almost be willing to bet some money that all those people that got paused were drivers that were accepting and reassigning based on the information. That's just another form of cherry picking, right? I rarely do it. I have a 2% acceptance rating. Yes, I said 2%. On average, I've been doing this for almost a year for Grubhub, and on average, I'm 5% every week. So you don't see me getting paused. You don't see anybody that I coach or that I teach getting paused. None of that. Again, I'd be willing to bet some money that those that got paused were reassigning too often.
Right, because let's face it, it's too easy to do it, because now essentially what you're doing is you're not even just cherry picking. Now you're screening orders. Okay, that's what's really, really sneaky about it, because it's like, all right, there's one thing to, an offer pops up, $5 on Arby's or something. You're like, nah, I don't want to do that. Then you reject it, right? Then you accept another order, then you reject that, or what do you call it? Then you accept another order, then you deliver it. Then another order comes up, and then you accept it, and then you're like, oh, wait, I don't like this. And then you reassign it. People get too comfortable with that. And again, because Grubhub doesn't inform you about it, people just keep doing it like, whatever. It's the same thing as rejecting an order, but they don't tell you that. So like you said, the transparency isn't there. And I'm not going to lie. I was going on and on and on and on and on about Grubhub showing, oh, look how transparent they're being. Look how transparent they're being. But I got to say, that's sneaky. And the fact that they're deactivating people and they can't even like appeal their case in some situations, I feel like it's just kind of messed up. You know what I mean? To an extent. By the way, hold on one second. Mexi Man and Cheese, thank you very, very much for that donation. The problem with non-tipping customers isn't just the 9 out of 10 non-tippers are the biggest. Yeah, and ask you for your way too much, walk up 10 flights of stairs. What he's trying to say is the people who don't tip are the ones that want you to jump through hoops for them. And it's just like, and then they're upset when you don't jump through hoops. You know what I mean? Like in those situations, have you ever accepted those orders where you basically have to, go upstairs, open gates, do this, go through a garage, like how do you handle those scenarios?
It's funny you say that because I am so picky about what I rarely run into those situations. And it's ironic that the people that are Premier are, not to knock against people that are Premier. I don't know your situation. It just sucks that Premier level, the program level brings us all down. It has brought this on us. So nothing against Premier drivers. Lost my train of thought. But I don't run into those situations too often. What I see though is that people that do accept a lot of offers run into those all the time. And more often than not, it's somebody that tips very low or no tip at all. Now, one thing I do want to add to these different tests that they're doing. Now, they did one in between. 2 weeks ago, they ran one that was really high paying. Then in between, they snuck one that was lower paying, right? And they only did Taco Bell offers. And they only paid a certain amount. Well, people were like, oh, if it's $7, I'll still go run a no tip offer. I'm like, no, now it's principle. Now you're going to running it for a few bucks extra. Now you're enabling those people that don't tip to order more and more. Make their offers sit around a while. They won't order as often, right? Now, on the other end, if Grubhub wants to fit the bill, right? They want to pay the extra money, like $12, for example. They want to pay over $10 for people who don't tip. They've now paid for my time, right? So if somebody wants to jump through or whatever, yada, it's not a big deal. Perfect example, I had the other day. I'm knocking, ring the doorbell. It's a fancy house up on the hills in a nice area. And it's pretty annoying, right? I'm a stacked offer. I have another one to go deliver. Now they're inconveniencing somebody else, and they didn't even tip. Luckily, again, GrubHub paid. It was over $12. It was crazy. Otherwise, I never would have done it. So just realize that when you are accepting those for $6, $7, you're like, the GrubHub's paying for it. And you are enabling that behavior. So don't get too mad in the future when you have to deal with the crap from those no tippers.
So really, with that being said, at the end of the day, is this really more of a reason to just keep rejecting those orders? I mean, here's the question. What do we do when and if they fully put out these blocked merchant and block payout offer screens? Like what do we do then? Like, how can you really cherry pick those? Like what would you do when that happens, or if that happens?
I will go work other platforms. I already have DoorDash. I can go to Uber if I need to, Uber Eats. I've already signed up for Instacart. I've signed up for Amazon Flex. I'm always on to the next one. I always have other things. I do fitness. My main gig is fitness. I'll go spend more time with that. There's a lot of things. I'll maybe spend more time producing YouTube videos. And everybody should be thinking about that, right? You should not be at the mercy of these companies. You should always be looking for your next. And if you're an independent contractor, you should be running multiple apps and find the one that really best suits you. Some people love to go shop. Some people like to pick up the groceries. There's some different ones where you don't have to shop. You pick up the groceries. There's WAG. You can go walk dogs. There's so many opportunities, and there's ones that really fit you where you can actually have a lot of fun and make good money at the same time.
Right. Exactly. I mean, at this point, in my particular market, it's Grubhub, Uber Eats, and DoorDash. Postmates isn't available yet. Caviar is not available yet. And we do have Instacart as well. But my personal thing was, I would do Instacart if it was a pickup drop-off, not where you have to go through the aisles and start grabbing the items yourself. I would totally have done it if it was delivery style, okay? But, I mean, Jake really said a mouthful here, guys. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it really comes down to finding an app that you're most comfortable with. Because, like how I always go on and on about Grubhub, a lot of people don't have Grubhub in their market yet. They only have DoorDash or they only have Uber Eats. So naturally, those are going to be the ones that they lean to the most. Or if you have all three, maybe Grubhub in your particular market is the one that's giving you all the lowball offers, but you're making a killing on DoorDash. So whenever you guys are watching our videos, you got to keep in mind, we're all in different parts of the country. So naturally, every market is going to be different than the next one. You know what I mean? So really, what it all comes down to is you have to do what's best for you at the end of the day. But keep this in mind. I see a lot of people that get really upset with these apps and companies. It's like, in a way, you could be working that 9-to-5 job that you didn't like anymore. You could be working a job with a boss that you don't get along with. You know what I mean? And there are still some people that are doing those jobs full-time and do these jobs part-time, So really, at the end of the day, it just comes down to you have to adapt and move on. We can't dwell is really the biggest thing, because dwelling doesn't get you anywhere. I know when Grubhub rolls this out, where they take away the payoffs, the payouts, it's going to be a bummer. It is, but we will always find another way to move on. I mean, that's really the whole thing with evolution. I mean, you just keep adapting and adapting and adapting. And clearly, when I discovered Jake's channel, the thing that what really blew me away was how in depth you went to making the most amount of money possible in the least amount of time. You know what I mean? Don't get upset. Just say no. Sure. That's the best way to do it, is to try and just stay positive and just keep moving on. Because Jake obviously found a way to use these apps to work in his best interest. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, if you're a Premier driver and you depend on the hourly guarantee, which, keep in mind, guys, is eventually going to be phased out. It may not happen this year, but it's going to happen eventually. Grubhub is realizing that they can reinvest that hourly guarantee money into people that are picking up these lowball offers. You know what I mean? So with that being said, so Jake, I guess to really kind of, end this whole thing here, it's all about adapting and finding out what's best for you, right? I mean, I guess that's really what it comes down to.
Absolutely. One of the things I always talk about, especially my clients, they know pivot. When something happens, you have to be able to pivot, and you have to know what your next move is, right? So you planning. One of my biggest things, number one thing, plan. Go into your day with some type of plan. It doesn't have to be so detailed, right? But then at least you can pivot and be like, okay, that didn't work out. Let me try this. And then you can collect data over time. Be like, all right, that sucked. I'm not going to do that again. This worked really well. And just repeat, right? Rinse, repeat, refine, keep refining. Great stuff that you said about, if it doesn't work for you, move on to something. Find what works best. Myself, I get fired up about this. And yes, I could go move on to the next thing. But a big part of what I do is I help drivers. I'm a driver advocate. I've been doing it for years. And I started in the rideshare industry. I've been helping drivers for a long time. The biggest reason why I started a YouTube channel, why I put out videos, is to disrupt gig economy and what these companies do, and to help inform drivers of your rights as an independent contractor, the choices that you can be making. And I show the absolute extremes. I've been as low as 0% on DoorDash. And I show that what you can do. Now, obviously, like I said, I'm the extreme. There's always, there's the other end, premier drivers. And you got to find out where you fit in between.
Now, okay, for all of those out there that are nervous or scared to cherry pick, and essentially Courtney was asking what cherry picking is, the best way I can describe it is you don't just accept everything that's sent to you when you're on these apps. You pick and choose, you cherry pick and choose which offers you want to fulfill. That's what it comes down to. That's just the best way I can explain that. But, Dustin is driving here. Rideshare driver Dustin is here, and he mentioned today that they're trying to pass this bill about all app-based gigs. I don't know if you heard about that, Jake, because of I believe it's because of the Uber and Lyft protests that are going on, or that were going on yesterday in Los Angeles. That they're trying to make it where these apps may have to conform more to an employee-based situation, right? Isn't that something like that, Dustin? Is it something along those lines that's happening? Or Jake, do you know about what's going on with that bill?
Yeah, I'm not sure which one. I started a video about a month ago that was very detailed, and it was about gig economy. It was about, portable benefits and a lot of the fights that are going on behind, like working Washington. There's a lot of, people that are back there. I mean, Teamsters is organized with some, SEIU. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of fights in the background. I'm sure you guys seen some stuff with, Uber, Lyft drivers, striking yesterday. They got the rates cut another 25%. I mean, there's 60 cents per mile and no time pay in Phoenix right now, in California or LA. That's just crazy. Tax, deduction is 58 cents per mile. So that's just absurd. And there's a lot of good fights. And just, you best believe that not only are we going to have some rights, I don't think it's going to be where we're in employee relationship. And the reason why I think that is because these companies cannot sustain, gig model cannot sustain in that type of an employee relationship. They just cannot. GrubHub maybe, because of the money they have, but long term, drivers don't want to do it, right? If we want to work for an employee, we'd go back to working where we work. So, independent contractor 1099 work is here to stay. But what's going to happen is these companies are going to give and they're going to bend. Like there's talks with Uber and SEIU and Teamsters, they're representing, all these drivers. They're going to bend and they're going to give up. We're going to end up with some portable benefits and stuff like that. And again, I have a video that I started that I need to finish up that really gets into detail about that and uses a bunch of articles and stuff that's out there.
Let me also, I kind of got a little sidetracked because that was an important thing to mention. Yeah, thank you, Dustin. Yeah, definitely, you guys should definitely subscribe to Jake when we're done with this for sure, Dustin, and for all of you guys watching. You were mentioning about how you had like a 0% acceptance rate on DoorDash and like a 2% on GrubHub, which I've never seen before. I've seen like 10%, 15%, but never that low. How many emails have you received from these companies warning you about your acceptance rate? How many? Just if you had to put it on, if you had to just give a number.
0.
That's exactly.
I've never received one email from GrubHub, one. And DoorDash, if you go look in their agreement, it specifically says they have it right as far as the wording there. And that's because they got in trouble and had to pay a settlement. That's why they reworded the agreement. But it basically says you can go accept offers based on what's going to make a profit for you, without saying exact words. But in short, it says that you can accept or reject based on what makes sense for you. Now, that's because we're independent contractors. They have it right, and that's because they got in trouble and they had to pay a settlement. GrubHub has some lawsuits going right now. I believe, the lawsuits out of California, but the representation's from Illinois. But GrubHub's also under fire too. Nobody's really talking about that. And that's for misclassification. And they potentially could lose that because of all the stuff they've been doing with pausing, their block system, taking weight with block restriction. They provided a lot of evidence. Some of the stuff that the DSs have said, the driver specialists, I have some recordings of some stuff that they've said that's just off the wall and it's an employer relationship. It's crazy. And those are some of the reasons why I dislike GrubHub and the way that they act and they treat us.
Right. 110%. And you know what? Like I've said a million times, guys, we are still in the very early stages of these apps. Sure, to us, it seems like it's been going on forever, but in reality, these food delivery apps have been around, what, 3 years, maybe 4? I mean, Uber and Lyft was first, and then Uber Eats came along, and then GrubHub and DoorDash. I mean, GrubHub has technically been around for the past 10 years, but they have only been doing like delivery to people's homes and, you know, in workplaces, I think in the past 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. So we are, you know, they're just as confused as we are with the best way to go about this stuff, because, you know, again, at the end of the day, they want to see us make money, but also at the end of the day, their bottom line and their profit margins are what really make the difference, unfortunately, you know? So they're going to see whatever's in their best interest over what's in our best interest. At the end of the day, it's a business. That's the problem. But like I said, for those people who tend to get upset about this kind of stuff and they're like, oh, they're taking it out on us and everything, you can't look at it that way. You almost have to look at it as, at least I'm doing this, you know, at least I'm enjoying this compared to what I was doing before, maybe. You know what I mean? Because I can't tell you how many people in the year and a half that I've been doing this channel, how many people have emailed me and said, you know, Pete, I was working a 9-to-5 job. I was doing this for 7 years, 8 years, some people just a couple of years. And, you know, because of your videos and because of all the people in this community making videos, I feel confident enough now that I can do this full time as opposed to part time. People have left their jobs to do this. I mean, I can tell you right now, I know my parents, they kept going to this one car dealership in particular because they really liked this one salesman. They've been going to him for like 10, 15 years. One day they walked in and he was gone. And they said, well, what happened? Did he get fired? He goes, no, he left to go drive Uber. You know what I mean? Like, people are leaving jobs where they're making like $100,000 a year to go work for themselves. So at the end of the day, guys, as much as these problems come about, you know, if you get deactivated from one app, there's 3 or 4 other apps you can jump on. If you don't like one, again, there's other apps you can go to. And when it comes to cherry picking, you are well within your rights to do it. Again, you know, me personally, in my market, I don't have to reject too many orders because the payouts are pretty good. You know what I mean? They're usually, you know, around the $9, $10, $11 mark anyway. So if I can get 2 of those an hour, I'm good. But for some people that have a lot of fast food places, they're getting slammed with those $3, $4, $5 orders. Maybe you should give that particular app a rest. Maybe try another one or multi-app. You know, do whatever's going to work best for you. That's just really what it comes down to. So to not let this go too much longer, even though we have 180 people watching, which is phenomenal. Jake, is there any closing words you have on this topic?
Yeah, one thing I want to touch on that you just said. Now, I understand why some of these companies are doing what they're doing. They're not profitable, right? They're trying to get to where they're profitable, and they're using all this, you know, in venture capitalist money. GrubHub, they are the profitable company, so they do not need to employ these tactics. They do not need to stoop to these guys' level, right? So, with that being said, GrubHub, just fix your dispatch system, and you will crush it. You will kill the game. We all want to drive for you, right? But if you keep playing games, we're going to go elsewhere. Nobody wants to play games. We're grown-ups, right? We're independent contractors. We don't want to play the games. But Pete, awesome stuff, man. Great video. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Really good stuff.
Absolutely, Jake. It's my pleasure to be able to bring people on here and get a different perspective, because I feel like that is really what it comes down to. It's you know, I don't want it to be always biased to what I say. I want other people with more experience to come on and you know give their views and their thoughts on this. So I'll leave you guys with this. Here's my comment question of the day to leave down below. How do you feel about cherry picking? Do you feel that it's the only way for you to make money? Do you prefer to be a premier driver, or do you prefer to just accept every offer given to you? Tell me why or why not. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. And of course, we got to do some shameless plugs here. Please go and check out Jake's channel. I mean, he is more of a edited video-based channel. You know, he puts a lot of time into his videos as opposed to me just doing live streams. So if you like that and like a more technical way to make money with these apps, feel free to go check him out. I have his link down below to his newest video. Please go leave him a comment saying Pay to Drive sent you or Pay to Drive sent me. Flood his comments, give him a like. Please subscribe and turn his notifications on, and let's see if we can get him to 4,000 subscribers. You know, that's about all I can ask for. So Let me know if you guys are into that. Links are in the description. And guys, for me, we're going for 200 likes on this video. We've already got 57. Comment 111 if you've smashed that like. Comment 222 if you haven't yet. And please subscribe here and turn those notifications on. And join my notification squad by commenting 777 and comment 888 if you haven't yet. Anyways, guys, on behalf of Jake and myself, thank you all so much for watching right here. Get that money, get that honey, keep hustling, keep bustling, and we'll see you next time right here on Paid to Drive. Thanks a lot, Jake.